Welcome to Crafts and Minis. Today I wanted to share with you an idea that I've been using in my latest D&D campaign, and hopefully it can help you out. What I laid out here on the table is some terrain. Now, some of it, like these ruins, is not finished. Like these tents from Renedra out of the UK, not finished. The well, finished. Mini for scale, finished. But I wanted to just take you through how I use my terrain to be the guide for my maps in D&D. Now, you've heard on this channel before, let the minis be your guide. Form encounters based on the miniatures you have. Don't start with the encounter first. That's just in your imagination. I mean, that's fine if you want to play that way, but I'm saying start with the minis for your encounters so that you actually use the miniatures you have. Also, start with the terrain for your maps so that you use the terrain you have. Another thing that I just want to encourage is that if you take this approach, my hope is that you'll actually use more minis and more terrain in your games in an enjoyable way. Because so often we get intimidated by using minis and terrain because we have this great idea, but we just don't have the perfect miniature or the perfect piece of terrain, or it's going to take too long to craft. Well, here's my solution. Craft what you want. Craft when the inspiration strikes. Look at all the awesome YouTube channels about crafting DMs. Take their inspiration, make it your own, and do what you want. Like I did, I have a whole bunch of these foam pieces that I made up based on the inspiration of so many who do that well. And I use those for like cliffs, for different rocky formations. And that means when I draw a map that my players can use, I know I have my cliffs covered. So if they go to the area with the cliffs, I know that I'd have the option, if I don't want to just do theater of the mind, if I want to use the table and miniatures, I have them. But if I didn't have them the way I do it, I'd be less likely to put cliffs on the map. So here, let's take a tour actually of the map I'm currently using for my campaign. So this is on paper. I don't use like the digital stuff yet. I mean, I'm so impressed by digital artists and those who are able to use the digital stuff. But here's my old school drawing. And I just wanted to show you, this whole map was inspired by terrain that I already have or I'm in the process of making. So just to give you a little bit of sense about this map, up here in the left-hand corner is a huge wasteland that the party has just crossed, right? And here they're at this place that's a little camp. And so if they want to go do some things in the camp that requires terrain, I've got them covered. I've got some tents, and I have more of these. And I have more tents that are in the making, some really cool ideas I have for making tents. But that gets me excited, right? That I have some tents I can use. I do need to paint them up and base them. I'm going to do that. You don't have to, but I'm going to. And I have some other tents I want to make. So this whole process that I'm encouraging you to let the minis and the terrain be your guide in playing really is a compliment to the game, and really the creativity on both ends complement each other. So I'm more likely to get these tents done now because I've put them in the map and I already had them underway. But now I want to finish them. Same thing here with ruins. Now, I had already been starting on and primed up these ruins. Now, this is really cool. I should do a whole video just on these, but I don't know if I will, so I'm going to give you some secrets in this video. This base, I simply got at the Dollar Tree in the United States, and it's sold for $1, like everything is there. And the base is one of these chalkboards that's actually MDF, but really like a chalkboard on both sides. So in order to glue something to it, you have to really scratch up this surface, which I did on the other side. And then I glued down this 3D printed ruin. And then I put some pumice rough paste on here. I used Herstart's blocks that I don't have Herstart's molds myself. I actually bought a huge flat rate box full of this stuff, full of these little blocks on eBay years ago, and I've been using them ever since. So I glue those down, put the pumice paste, and then when I prime it all up, it looks awesome. These are my ruins. And what's so cool is now that my players have scouted out this area and have mapped it out, I know next time they're going to the ruins. So guess what's getting worked on this week? Boom. But here's something cool. If I was just coming up with this area myself, I wouldn't have been inspired to put this platform in there. And you notice there's a little drawing in the middle of the platform. Well, you can't tell what that is just from the map. But I knew what it was when I put it in there because I was inspired by this piece of terrain that I have. This is from the game Confrontation by the company Rackham. And before they did the pre-painted miniatures, they did these great metal miniatures. And I can't remember. I think this was from the time of when they were doing the pre-painted miniatures. But it's awesome, right? And it has this sweet dragon in the middle. So I actually want to texture this up some more in a little different way and repaint it and all that because I'm a tinkerer and I love to customize stuff for our hobby. But here's what's so cool. Because I had this piece of terrain, it was now an awesome option for the map. And how cool is it when my players are going to get here and see that it has a dragon on there, and it's going to open up a world of possibilities of what I want to do with that. And it inspires the story based on the terrain coming first. And that's the whole approach that I want to encourage you to risk adopting during some of your games. Let the terrain be your guide. Let the terrain come first once in a while. And so that's really cool. I wouldn't have put that on the map if I didn't have that piece of terrain, though. Or I would have been in the situation where I put it on the map, and since I didn't have anything underway and I didn't necessarily know how to do it in an easy way myself to get prepared for the game, they would have gotten there and I wouldn't have had the option to use minis and terrain unless it was very abstract. I would have just had to go with theater of the mind, which is a great way to play. I'm not dogging that, but I'm in this for the minis and the terrain, no doubt. You saw in another video I did this ziggurat. Guess what? Same deal. Because I have this finished, it made it way south on the map. Ziggurat. And so that's awesome, right? Also, you see, I got these grassland settlers. All these little dots are settlers, different homesteaders in this area. And guess what? If they go see the settlers, guess what's a settler who has some livestock is going to need? Fences. Well, I already had these fences. And so that really influenced me to make the settlers very, very prominent, right? So if they go there, I have that terrain. Same thing with the traders. I also, since this area was just settled, I gave the traders just tents, and they have carts, and they've got their work goats. So the traders are covered. And then I have a whole bunch of trees. I do need to do the basing on those trees, but I have a ton of trees that, on a play mat this size, maybe 3 feet by 3 feet, it's easy for me to cover it in trees now, and so the map has a ton of trees. Now, I did put some things on my map that I don't have made yet. Like I don't have, I fold up blue cloth for streams and rivers, which works fine. I'd like to do something more than just that. I don't have any fortifications built that I think would fit in this setting. So if I wanted to do this Fort Moon or the Outpost, I'm going to have to do that. Same thing with the bridge. So I'm not going totally with minis first, then the map. But what I allowed too is this map now inspires which minis I make. And I want to do minis and, terrain I make. And I want to do terrain that is versatile, that can be used in a lot of different settings and a lot of different games. And something like these fortifications I'm going to make to do that eventually. And then you see these cliffs and cave faces. That is very easy to do with all of the foam that I already have carved. So this is just a quick tip to try something new. When you're planning your game, go nuts. Let your imagination go wild. That's part of the fun of our hobby. But also, don't neglect the terrain you already have, right? Look at it, think about how you can work it into your story, and maybe before you even know how it's going to work into the story, just put it on a map and go from there. And if you do that, you're going to be surprised because before long, you're going to have a map that you're really excited about using because you've got corresponding terrain to what's on the map. So I appreciate you checking out the video. I want to take away some excuses for how hard it might be to use terrain in your games, especially if you're just getting started. And I want to encourage you just to go for it. So this week, just remember, as always, go get after your hobby.